you very much.
It's a great honor. Happy birthday. A few days short.
A little bit.
A few days short, but didn't have a chance to see you on the day. Happy birthday to the U.S. military as well, 250th, and this is the 50th birthday, if you will, of the G7. This marks the 50th birthday of the G7, and the G7 is nothing without U.S. leadership, and your personal leadership of the United States, many issues. Geopolitics, economic, technology, and working hand in hand with the United States, Canada and the United States, and the other G7 partners with your leadership. Very much looking forward to the meeting and grateful to have you.
Thank you very much, Mark. I appreciate it.
Hello, my name is Fred, and welcome to the Max Review. Today we'll be talking about the G7 summit that occurred in Canada just recently, June 16th to the 17th of this year in Alberta. Our main focus will be primarily on Prime Minister Mark Carney and his interactions with President Donald Trump. First of all, there were a couple of untruth statements that were made by President Trump, and we're here to digest them. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the following videos as it shows our Prime Minister's constant, or what I will say are, he's just so quick to shower President Trump with flattery whenever and wherever he meets him in person, but still gets no deals. Instead, we get more tariffs. Right? I understand that as the saying goes, first, if you don't succeed at first, try it and try again. But, you know, as time goes on, I will imagine you will want to change your technique, right? I'm starting to lean more to doing the same thing and expecting a different result at this point. Let me know what you think in the comment.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I'm on the edge of my seat, actually. But thank you for your hospitality and above all for your leadership. You're a transformational president, focus on the economy with a relentless focus on the American worker, securing your borders, ending the scourge of fentanyl and other opioids, and securing the world. And I've been elected with my colleagues here. With the help of my colleagues here, I'm going to spread the credit to transform Canada with a similar focus on the economy, securing our borders, again on fentanyl, much greater focus on defense and security, securing the Arctic and developing the Arctic. And you know, the history of Canada and the U.S. is we're stronger when we work together, and there's many opportunities to work together, and I look forward to, you know, addressing some of those issues that we have, but also finding those areas of mutual cooperation so we can go forward. 50 years ago, in France, a group of leading industrial nations got together, and it was the frank, informal discussions around that table in Rambouillet that led to a long period of decisions and prosperity. Communism and to accelerate the flow of capital and trade to the developing world. The world's more divided and dangerous. Hostile states and terrorists have expanded their capabilities and their reach, threatening global security in our local communities. Mr. President, have anticipated these massive changes and are taking bold measures to address them.
Okay, so let's begin.
G7 used to be the G8. Barack Obama and a person named Trudeau didn't want to have Russia in, and I would say that was a mistake, because I think you wouldn't have a war right now if you had Russia in, and you wouldn't have a war right now if Trump were president 4 years ago, but it didn't work out that way. But it used to be the G8, and now it's, I guess, what's that, 8 years ago, it switched over. They threw Russia out, which I claimed was a very big mistake. Even though I wasn't in politics then, I was very loud about it. It was a mistake in that you spend so much time talking about Russia, and he's no longer at the table, so it makes life more complicated. But you wouldn't have had the war. Other than that, I want to talk about that.
And you mentioned Putin. Do you think that he should have a seat at the G7 today, that it should be the G8?
I'm not saying he should at this point because too much water's gone over the dam, maybe. But it was a big mistake. Obama didn't want him, and the head of your country, the proud head of your country, didn't want him. This was a big mistake. You wouldn't have that war. You know, you have your enemy at the table. Even I don't even consider him. He wasn't really an enemy at that time. There was no concept. If I were president, this war would have never happened. But likewise, if he were a member of what was called the G8 at that time, it was always the G8.
Why not have China at the G8? Why not have China here, the biggest economy in the world after the United States?
Well, it's not a bad idea. I don't mind that. If somebody wants to suggest China coming in, I think we suggest. But you want to have people that you can talk to. You know, they don't talk to. Putin speaks to me. He doesn't speak to anybody else. He doesn't want to talk because he was very insulted when he got thrown out of the G8, as I would be, as you would be, as anybody would be. He was very insulted, and I mean, he was thrown out by Trudeau, who convinced one or two people, along with Obama. He was thrown out, and he's not a happy person about it. I can tell you that. He basically doesn't even speak to the people that threw him out, and I agree with him.
The first one was the statement that was made by President Trump. And what he said was, you wouldn't have a war if you had Russia in the G8, right? So that statement is untrue. So what was the G8? The G8 was a group of 8 industrial countries. The members of the G8 included Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, UK, United States, Russia, and the European Union, represented by the President of the European Commission and Council. So the G8 evolved as a result of Russia joining the G7 in 1997. The purpose of the G8 was to discuss global issues such as the bad T word that we all know about happened September 11th and so on and so forth, right? Global security, crisis management, and economic growth every year. From the 15th to the 17th of July 2006, Russia held the 32nd G8 summit in St. Petersburg and will be the one and only summit they held. We all know that the purpose of the G8 was to discuss and address global issues while adhering to international laws. What President Trump perhaps may or may not know, or willful blindness, or may be ignorant of the fact that the reason why Russia was expelled from the G8 was due to the fact that on February 2014, Russia attacked a sovereign Ukraine using military force, which ended with the annexation of Crimea and subsequent conflicts in the Donbas regions under the pretext of protecting ethnic Russians. So let's just say they steal a city with its people with the use of military force, and I don't see how that's okay. This, among others, are violations of international laws such as Article 2.4, which forbids using threats or force against a sovereign nation. So Article 2.4 of the UN Charter mandates that all member states must refrain from such actions in their international relations, and it also requires them to assist the United Nations in any actions taken under the Charter. So the question that remains, why should Russia be allowed at the G8 when they violate the same fundamental principles outlined in the United Nations Charter, right? It makes no sense. This sets a bad precedent to other member states that any country powerful than its neighbor militarily and economically can just attack its neighbor and seize their land with total disregard for international laws. In that case, what's stopping the United States from attacking Canada or trying to annex Canada? Or what stops China from trying to invade Taiwan? And the list continues, right? I'm guessing you get my gist. So there is a consistent pattern with Russia attacking its neighbors, right? Russia has a pattern of attacking its neighbors, and for such reasons, most of the Baltic countries want to align with NATO for protection from Russia and Russian influence. NATO is a defensive alliance, contrary to the propaganda that we hear. If Russia can pact with Iran, China, North Korea, and the likes of all these dictators, why are they against Ukraine joining NATO? That's another topic of discussion for another time. Let's look at some of the patterns of Russian aggression on its neighbors. First, let's look at the First Chechen War, which happened from 1994 to 1996. Russia attacked Chechnya. Again, from 1999 to 2009 was the Second Chechen War. Again, Russia attacked Chechnya. In 2008 was the Georgian War. Russia attacked Georgia, its neighbor. In 2014 was the annexation of Crimea, which was Russia attacking Ukraine. In 2015 was the Syrian War. Again, Russia attacking Syria. Well, we know what was happening there at that time. And then in 2022, up until now, is the full-scale war that is happening in Ukraine right now. Initially, Russia started with wanting to annex 3 regions, and now I guess they want the whole of Ukraine. So yes, Russia should not be allowed to sit at the G8 table while it attacks and wages war on its neighbors, and everyone should condemn it.
Tariff concept. Mark has a different concept, which is something that some people like. But we're going to see if we can get to the bottom of it today. I'm a tariff person. I've always been a tariff. It's simple, it's easy, it's precise, and it just goes very quickly. And
Second, tariffs. So President Trump claims that he's a tariff person and that tariffs are, I quote, simple, easy, and precise, and goes very quickly. Okay, that's untrue, and we all know it. Nothing about tariffs is what he claims. Tariffs create global and economic uncertainties, especially in the wake of what we all have seen in 2025, and causes supply chain problems across the globe. But I would like to hear your thoughts. I will end here. My name is Fred, and this is the Max Review. We'll see you next time.